Hey, how's it going, you guys? This is Tyler, um, coming with yet another IT series. In this one, I am going to be talking about scripting. So, scripting using PowerShell, that's something that I use pretty frequently in my current role, and I'm actually coming up with a very practical example. I'm going to make a script that hopefully our team can use at my current job to fix some issues. And I kind of prefer doing, or I would really prefer doing a video like this that's more real world. Um, because the way that I learned to develop, I learned the basic concepts of development and scripting and these types of things. But what actually motivated me to learn more is doing real world examples like this, where there's a problem and you need to fix it. Um, and that's another thing that I would also implore you guys to do if you're looking to get into scripting and that side of things is really think about how can I solve an issue? Because that's what this is. So a little background on me. I'm uh, I'm a support analyst, tier two support analyst at a company called Globalscape. They have this application, global, it's called EFT, electronic file transfer. And basically what it does is it's a managed file transfer. It can automate all of these different rules, um, to send files where they need to go. It's a very good product. You should check it out. I will put a link in the description of the video where you can get more information on that if you want. And so an issue I've seen in support is there will be an issue where one of the modules that we use connects to a database. And when this module or this connection is strained, it creates an issue where incoming connections cannot happen. Um, you're unable to get into this admin GUI, the one I'm in right now. Um, and that's an error from the module actually. Um, so this is the module right here. It's called the auditing and reporting module. And basically what I want to do is create a script that can remotely turn this off if we're having an issue and we are unable to get into the console. So obviously, if you can't get into the console to uncheck this, it's going to be very difficult to turn this off. Um, So there's your issue. Now, how do we do that using scripting? Well, built into this application, we have a couple different API features. Let's see. Okay, that's still connected. We have a couple different API features. One is called COM API. Another one is REST API. Let me uncheck this. So I'm going to allow remote administration in the application, which will help or which will allow us to access the application via API. So the whole, so for this exercise, I'm going to be using our COM API, which is a less used, less popular API than like a REST API. I'll do future videos, likely do future videos on REST API, as it's one of the more popular APIs. But there's a specific reason that I'm using COM API. And the reason for that is by default, it's enabled in the application. Um, Whereas REST API will not be used in the REST API, you have to check, you have to manually enable. So, and the reasoning behind that is so if I'm in a situation where the client is having an issue, they can't get into the GUI and they need to disable this ARM module to get into the GUI. We're not going to be able to get in and enable REST API, but COM API will be enabled. So by using COM API, that's going to solve a lot of issues for us if we run into this because we know it's available, we know we can use it. Um, and that goes to my second point. Why am I using PowerShell rather than something like Python, JavaScript? I know Python, I know JavaScript. Why am I using PowerShell? Well, our application is Windows based, so I know PowerShell is going to be available on any of the servers that I log into. Um, and PowerShell offers a lot of ease of access. So for a lot of my scripting, when it comes to this application, I use PowerShell because it's easy. It's installed on every Windows server, and yeah, it's ease of use. So, anyways, enough yapping by me. Um, let's get started. So the first thing that I do whenever I'm using PowerShell is I go into PowerShell ISE, which is downloaded by default on any newer Windows operating system. You're going to have Windows PowerShell ISE. Um, if you're not familiar with Windows PowerShell ISE, it's it just means it's an integrated scripting environment. It's basically like an IDE. If you're not familiar with scripting and development, IDEs are where you create a lot of your scripts. So yeah, um, or it's a good troubleshooting environment. So I have my scripting panel up here. I have my output down here. Um, I can do write output hello world. Uh, believe it's still loading. So we do write output, do one of these, and it'll say hello world. So there you go. Um, so I am going to copy in one of my scripts that I've written before, and we can go through what it does. So being a giant application, um, Global Escape, the application I support, we have all of this documentation, all of these examples on like example scripts. This is one of those. This is one that I developed. And what this does is it's really just a check to see um, if the API is working. So we have a site name variable up here. We have some EFT COM objects. It is a COM API. It uses COM-based objects to interact with the application. If you're not familiar with that, I would Google it. It's a very unique way to use APIs. It's different than REST API, but not altogether unsimilar. They have a lot of similarities. So we're creating an EFT COM object, which means this is our EFT server, which we'll be accessing. This has a series of methods. So EFT.connect EX for connecting in and authenticating. You need to authenticate into the application. And then we have our sites. EFT has a series of sites. If you look in the console, if I log in here, we have these sites, my site one, and I put my site name up here. Basically what this is doing, this confusing loop, which we're going to get rid of, by the way. Um, it just goes through the sites, finds the site name, and outputs some of that information to the console. So that's what this should do. And there you go. So we output all this information to the console. This is our site. This basically shows us the API is working. I will put a link to this in the video as well, uh, if you're interested in using Global Escape. Um, but yeah, this is the script I created, which is basically like a template. Um, I use the script all the time, and I highly recommend if you're if you have a lot of scripts that use the same type of logic to have like templates, it just simplifies your life. It makes things a lot easier. So from working on the application, I know, let me get rid of some of this unnecessary stuff. So I know that the ARM module, which we need to disable, is at the EFT object level. So if I do EFT dot, or I might need to do, let me see if I can do, you know what? I deleted too many things. Okay, let's start this again. Live scripting. Okay, so what I need to keep here is the authentication, because regardless of where our object is on the site, or if it's site or server level, we need to authenticate. So we have our authentication here, and there we go. No errors, so we know that it's working. Let me run through exactly what this does. So we're creating that COM object for the server. And then we have EFT server. This is the loopback address, and this is the port number of the loopback address. So whenever we run this application, it listens for connections on the loopback address, the 127.0.0.1 on port 1100. Um, so when we're making a connection in, we're doing eft.connect.ex. We're connecting into the loopback address on port 1100. We're using this one for authentication type. And what that means is I can put a link to our documentation on Calm API. I'm getting all this from our documentation, but for time's sake, I'm not going to like go into the deep. I guess I could, but I'm not going to go into the depth